Okay, so I haven't been able to share my story in a long time, and my name is Janice. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Janice.
Today is my 33rd birthday.
Oh, that's right.
So 33, that's 1 minute per year. Okay. No, but thank you. And I love doing the service studies. I've been in service all my sobriety. And I've known Austri. I was in district service when she became a delegate, and saw her at the assembly when we really wanted her to be trustee. And it was like all of that was just amazing. So I always looked up to her. And I love intergroup. I've been a part of the service structure ever since I was 1 year sober. I wasn't allowed to leave the women's meeting until I had a year sober because I was a really sick puppy. And I didn't like you guys. But so now, it's like I support all the service structures, whatever I can do. It's so important that we maintain Alcoholics Anonymous, the traditions, the concepts, and the warranties to make sure that AA does stay here, for future generations. And Laura and I were sharing a little bit about, the structure, and not just the words on the walls, but our traditions and the fact that this is a safe place, no matter what our background is, mental illness, jail, multiple marriages, whatever it is. This is a safe place. If you want to get sober, you are more than welcome here, no matter what. It doesn't matter. I don't know about you guys, but when I was out there drinking, I had to be a certain way. I wanted to be a certain way. I wanted to fit in, like Meg was talking about. I wanted to be a part of, and to do that, I had to drink a lot, and I had to do a lot of things that I didn't want to do. And I conformed very fast because on my own, I would just die. So I had to conform to the bar life, to the drinking life, to the high school skipping school life. And I was a blackout drinker from the very, very first time. I did a lot of other substances in high school, and I just conformed. I just, whatever you needed me to be, I was going to be that. And it was really a shell of a life. And the blackouts were right away, and talked about incomprehensible demoralization from the very start. But I didn't know that it was really wrong. After my first blackout, I had bruises and all the stuff that I probably fell on my face a couple of times. And, I just felt that that's what we did. I just to say a little bit about my childhood. It was one where you didn't talk, you didn't tell. I didn't know what was true. If I said my truth, it was like, you don't know what you're talking about. Or if I was too happy, it was like, don't be too happy. Don't be too sad. I wasn't allowed to feel, to talk, to share. And we had a lot of violence in the home, a lot of other types of abuse. And it was just the way it was. So I think I emotionally checked out at about 7. I remember after just after a violent episode, I think my spirit left my body, to be honest. I really felt like I was done as a person. I was 7 years old, little girl. But stuff was just going on, and I had no outlet. So it was years and years later in recovery that I found out that little girl, she didn't really die inside. She still had this little teeny tiny light in her heart. And sobriety gave me that light. And I started to recover. That was probably around 10 or 12 years sobriety, because I had to do a lot of healing from my family. A lot of those old beliefs, the shame and the guilt that Meg talked about. I didn't know who Janice was. I didn't know what truth was. All I knew how to do was to conform and be what you wanted me to be, drink and get loaded as much as I possibly could. And in between those minutes, I wanted to die from a very young age. So I dropped out of school at 16. I got knifed at a bar, and I went to my boyfriend at the time, and he said, "That's what you get for effing around," because that's the kind of people I hung around with. And okay, so this isn't working for me. So one day I'm traveling or walking at the carnival I don't know why I'm at the carnival, but I met a guy. He said, "Come on over," and he liked me. So I packed up everything in my car and I joined the carnival with him. Because that's the kind of drunk I was. It was like, your idea was always better than my idea. Because like I said, I just wanted to die, right? So we traveled a lot of violence in that relationship, and a lot of other substances. Eventually I had to, this is a God shot, I had to plan my escape, because if anyone has been in domestic violence situations, you just can't walk away. And even though they might say, get out, they don't let you leave. So, but I planned my escape. God saved me from that. And, what am I going to do? I'm still a drunk. I'm still an addict. What am I going to do? So I decided, well, I'm just going to hitchhike across the United States. And I did. Why? I called it adventure. God gave me this wonderful gift of adventure as a little girl. I would look at those calendars that the bank sent you of the Rocky Mount. I grew up in Florida, by the way. So I'd look at the Rocky Mountains and, the Aztec ruins of New Mexico. And it's like, oh, I want to go there. It's snow on the mountains. Wow. So I had this sense of adventure, but like all of our character defects or destructs is what I call them, or defaults. I took it to the nth degree. So I start hitchhiking all over the country, and I'm coming home from a concert, and this guy picks me up, and we enjoyed this like a year or so relationship. Come to find out, he was the sound guy for the band Rush. And he invited me up to Washington, D.C. quite a few times, and we got to go to concerts, but we were always loaded. And they took me to my first AA meeting, and I remember this guy saying, "You don't have to live like this." And I didn't know what he was talking about. Like, what do you mean I don't have to live like this? What's wrong? I didn't know. I was cognitively impaired from a very young age. So, continued to go back and forth. And then I got my GED, I don't know, maybe 18 or 19. And I realized, okay, time to like settle down and get a real job. And I was one of those periodic drunks like they talk about in the big book. I would like try to get my act together and get a job, waitressing or bartending usually, because that's where all the good stuff is. And then I would, something would happen and I have to just get loaded again. And I noticed through the years that from Halloween through Easter was the best time to stay drunk. It was just holiday time. And it was a very depressing time, because family of origin, we were not, believe it to beaver, Norman Rockwell family. And it brought up a lot of stuff. So I didn't go anywhere without a bottle. You didn't come over to my place without a bottle. I drove a little red Ford Courier pickup truck, and I lived in it for quite a while. But, I liked hearing the sound of those bottles rolling around on the floorboards. There was just something special about that. I would have these bouts of like, oh, I just want to die. Whenever I wasn't engaged with another person or really, really wasted, I just wanted to die. I never even thought about sobriety. Never, ever, ever thought about anything, really, just where the next buzz is going to come from. And so I was in this cycle trying to get not sober, just trying to work and be normal. But I wasn't normal because I have this illness called alcoholism. And coming towards my bottom, so I met the man of all men, Prince Charming, who never really comes, in case you're wondering. But he was the man, like, I was just infatuated for all of it. And January 31st, my belly button birthday, he gave me this little gold necklace, and I was like, oh, wonderful, wonderful. By February 15th, he was out of my life forever. And I'm like, okay, that was kind of weird. So I got to the point, drinking after that relationship, I could not get drunk anymore. And I was working at a bar, at the biggest casino actually in Northern California. I can't remember the name. And I remember calling my employer and saying, God, I've been drinking all day, but I just can't sleep because I work graveyard. I can't sleep. I don't know what's going on. And after coming, so many nights of that, I think she realized I might have a problem. And maybe she knew about Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't know. I like to think she did, because she suggested that I go to treatment. And I'm like, oh, not that, no way. But I knew something was wrong. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't get drunk anymore. I was depressed all the time. And so I went to talk to this shrink, and he said, well, you're codependent. I was like, okay, I'm codependent. But I was really, really depressed and suicidal. I kept drinking. September of, I was 25, 1987, whew, long time ago. I went into treatment because I was powerless. And I remember one of the first questions they said was, are you powerless? And I'm like, no, I can get here. I got here. I still had a job, barely. I'm not powerless. So I learned through that process, like, okay, there's alcoholism and then there was life. And so that's started my 2 year of trying to stay sober, practicing recovery. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. If you looked at me wrong, I had to go drink. If my car broke down, I had to go drink. If the ATM wouldn't give me cash, I had to go drink. I just did not know how to do life without alcohol and other things. And of course, did I say goodbye to the bar job? No. I didn't know how to have sober friends. None of my friends were sober. But I tell you what happened during those times of sobriety, at the bar especially. We were talking about this at dinner, like the ladies would come in, after work, and everyone's like prim and proper after work. Within a couple of hours, they're drunk and cussing, and margaritas spilled all down the front of the shirt. And God was giving me some shots of like what I used to look like. Oh my gosh. So even though I couldn't stay sober, I was getting a lot of lessons, and by the grace of God, I was able to come back. So many of us don't come back after they go back out. So I'm going to talk about sponsor leadership a little bit. My picker was broken. Men, friends, sponsors, broken. But I knew this God thing, even though I hated God so bad. When Bill writes about, looking at the sunset and the water and this nature, it was like, yeah, that was my God. When I saw the mountains and snow and all of that, that was my God. And I started to get this little glimmer that maybe there's hope for me. Because like Meg, I was just so broken. I was a soul of a person. I didn't want to talk. I was fearful. I was like, God, I don't know about this God thing. But I kept coming back, and the people in the rooms, just like you guys, kept saying, come on back. Come on back. We're here for you. Come on back. And so 30, 60, 90 days, I had some really bad sponsors, but I didn't know they were bad until way later. You don't do a 4-step in the room when your lady sponsor has your boyfriend there. Okay. When they're, back then everyone smoked. It's just the way it was. Everyone smoked, smoking, drinking coffee, talking on the phone. I'm like, something's wrong here. I just didn't know how to say it, but like something was wrong. So I finally had, and I told you I was in a women's meeting for the first year of my sobriety. They saved my life. And I just stayed there because it was safe. I could cry. It was safe. And I got this wonderful sponsor who ran the tapes. And she was just a great lady. And she gave me this poster that said, God doesn't make junk, with a great big happy smiley face on it. It was like, okay, but I still feel like junk. But after a year, I was allowed to do service in the Alano Club. And it was so wonderfully amazing because I got to have learn a little bit of confidence in myself, learn a little bit that, I can read, because I had a hard time reading when I came in. And, I can collect the dollars and count the money. I can clean up the kitchen. And then it was like we did these big Friday night fish fries with dances and speaker meetings. And, I just became a human being in Alcoholics Anonymous, because some people get sober and they have they know how to do life. And I didn't know that alcoholics could do that. I thought you all were sick, really sick like me. And little by little, I realized, some people have education. Some people have happy families outside of alcoholism. But I didn't have any of that. So I learned that there's all kinds of alcoholics. We come from a lot of different backgrounds. And so service was great, big turn on. I did drink after 11 months. And I don't know exactly what happened, except for the fact I remember saying, I want to drink, but I can't. Big clue. And December 9th, 1989, I'm still working at the bar. Someone shoved a drink in my hand. And, I was just in enough pain where I just said, F it. And I drank until December 31st, 2 a.m. in the morning, more incomprehensible demoralization. And I couldn't get drunk anymore. It's like, dang. So December 31st, 33 years ago today, I was sitting at a bar and I couldn't drink anymore. It was everywhere. And I didn't want it. I couldn't drink. I was just done. And I left that bar and I went to an AA sober dance. Thank goodness there's dances still. We're going to one tonight down in Auburn. And some people just talked to me. I was angry. I was suicidal. I was still drunk from the day before, but they talked me off that cliff, and I woke up sober the next morning and started my new life. And gosh, how long have I been talking?
You have 15 minutes
Okay,
left.
15 minutes of recovery. Yay! So recovery, yeah, I had the best home group in all of California, maybe even the whole West Coast, this side of Mississippi. The women's meeting at Mid-Peninsula Alano Club in Sunnyvale, California. We loved each other, and at this Alano Club, we moved as a unit, and we traveled, and we did stuff, and we did fish fries, and we were a unit together. And then at a Halloween dance, a young people's Halloween dance, I met Dave, and Dave is a 6'4", 210-pound baby, dressed as a baby at his Halloween dance. And, so he was in our tribe. We were doing our young people stuff, going to conferences. And I ended up leaving California a couple of years later, and I moved up here to be with him. Well, we started dating long distance, which is fabulous. Did a lot of service. And so eventually I moved up here to be with him. And I tell you, changing home groups and leaving where I got sober was so hard. It was hard for me to get plugged in up here. I did young people's groups, I did service, I did all that stuff. But that connection, it was just hard for me to find that connection. I changed careers. By then I had a little bit of college. And Dave had said, you can go back to school if you want. So I was like, okay. So I went back to school. I did eventually get a degree and a couple other certifications. Big deal, because it's not about the stuff. It's about the inner workings, right? What's going on the inside. I continue to just do service and live life and do what they want, do what I'm supposed to do. I'm getting really thirsty all of a sudden. Excuse me.
Get you some water.
Thank you, Meg. But then every once in a while, something would happen. It's like, I don't know, life just got hard. And I never ever wanted to drink again, but this disease, this ism of depression, of impatience, of trying to be perfect, trying to look at all costs, that would hit me. And I would be filled with shame. Why aren't I good enough? My belly button birthdays were hard. Holidays were still hard. I don't want to drink, but what is this pain inside of me? What is going on? So 8.5 years sober. Also, I could not find that perfect home group. I kept trying to replace this home group I left down in the Bay Area. I couldn't find it. So, and I'd cry at meetings. I was like, why am I still crying? At 8.5 years sober, I left AA, threw my 3rd edition big book away, and I went to church. That's what we do, right? We got to find a fix somewhere. Excuse me. What I found at church was that little light that I thought was completely extinguished was still there. And by the love of an amazing sponsor, by this time I finally had picked the right sponsor, Leanne Garn. She's deceased now, but she said, I'm worried about you. I think you need to go talk to somebody. And some friends said, I think you need to go talk to someone. Well, I had gotten sober in a place where they said, you don't take any medications no matter what. Any type of medication is a crutch and you don't take it. So that's how I looked. But at 8.5 to 10 years sober, I was out of the program, healing, trying to find some type of medication that I didn't want to take. Again, more shame, more guilt. Like, why'd you do this to me, God? It's bad enough to be an alcoholic. Now this. And so the thinking was all weird, but it helped. And by the way, February, there's going to be a meeting about sponsorship with people with mental health illnesses for sponsors and for sponsees. I'm sure Lara has more information about that. So I came back in the rooms, and guess what? The first meeting I went into was my next perfect home group for like another 15 years. It was the best home group in all of the West Coast. It was Renton South and Women. And there was a core group of ladies, and we did everything together. We did the train down to Portland for the women's conference. We did service at other conferences. We moved as a unit. It was fabulous. Talk about being in the herd. I mean, it could not have been more beautiful if you were on the Serengeti, watching the animals. So, and it was just fabulous. So back and forth, finding out what powerlessness is, finding out what the principles are, finding out who Janice is on the inside. One thing I always wanted to do was let my insides match my outsides, and let what I say mean what I say and say what I mean. because I was a chameleon for so long. I was so fearful that if I didn't say what you wanted to hear, you weren't going to like me, you were going to insult me, you were going to beat me up, you were going to abandon me. And I learned that that doesn't, it might happen here because we are microcosm of society, but for the most part, I have found times where I can be angry and I can express my anger safely. And people, I mean, I've had women just sit there and stare at me when I'm like, rah, 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 and I'm like, wow, they're not shaming me. They're just letting me do what I need to do. And what a miraculous thing that is. And that's why we talk about these rooms being a safe place. Um, that home group disbanded just recently, but about 5 years ago, I had to leave because it was getting small and there was the same 5 or 6 of us doing all the work, and it was just not growing anymore. And so I had been going to Benson Hill on the birthday. We have our birthday celebrations the last Saturday of the month, and it is a party. It is fun, laughter, tears, joy, you name it, in that hour and a half meeting. It's the best meeting. And so when I realized I had to go someplace else, I searched to some other meetings, but I just wasn't feeling it. So Benson Hill has been my home group then since then. And my sponsor passed away. Leanne passed away a few years back. And I struggled and I felt empty trying to find another sponsor because, it's only a day, but when you have like 30 years of days sober, you get kind of picky, like I had my list, okay, and I tried a few, and there's still some people out there that like to control, and it's like I don't do control well. I don't mind trying to control you, but I don't want you to control me. Okay, and that's still a lesson to be learned, another ism. But I finally found a sponsor up in Bellingham. The conference up there went. It's like one of those rock concerts, like Woodstock up in Bellingham.
Girls Talk.
It wasn't the Girls Talk one; it was something else.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, she's fabulous. And then I have a sponsor here too, and Austria's my service sponsor. So I'm like, okay, got it going on. What was I going to say? So sponsorship. Oh, and I got sponsors. I'm doing the stuff. But what happens next, right? You get the job, the husband. You got all your ace ducks in a row, and this is the big deal. Like I turned 60 this year, and not that it's all about me, but I've been asking God, what do you want from me, God? What am I supposed to do? Meg mentioned on purpose, and I'm just open. I just want to be open to see what happens next. But with aging comes different types of sobriety. So one of the things I'm doing is I'm doing a real thorough 4-step. If you guys have not seen the Al-Anon Blueprint for Progress 4-step book, it's not the old little one and the little blue one that's like maybe 15 pages. This is a friggin' spiral bound, like 60-page book. And I don't have a clue what's going to happen after I fill it all out. And I don't care, because the road to internal exploration, knowing that God's with me, helping me figure stuff out. Okay, what I do with the wrinkles on my face and the fact that I can't get up off the floor if I bend down, and these things. It's like, what do I do with that information? So God's going to help me with that. And this next, I can't remember what term Bill uses, but in the vision, the vision for you. Christy has said many times, create the life you crave, something to that effect. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Whatever God wants me to do, one day at a time. I have to catch my breath for a second. What's it like now? So I'm still married to the same guy. I met at the Halloween dance. We've been together. We got married in 99. So that's a lot of years. And my family is dysfunctional. It's very small. We don't have children. And I have to say, I envy some of you people with family, because you have drama. You have stuff that you can really get into. And I don't have that. And it's like, okay, it's just me. And it's a little bit harder, to not have anything else to focus on out there. But that's like between my higher power and me. There is, and when Bill talks about the final analysis, it's between, you and your higher power, right? People will, they might hurt you seemingly without provocation. I've had to go through some of that stuff. And it's like, ouch, ouch, ouch. But I get closer to God. The past couple of months have been really rough. I've got a great business, at least except in August when I looked at my profit loss statement, it was like, okay, it's between God and I. It's not about the business. Sister Teresa, I think it was Sister Teresa, has a poem. I think it's her. It might be Mother Teresa. I'm sorry, about the last analysis. And I'm like, I wonder, like, did she and Bill have conversation or what? But it says something to the effect, if you like to share and you share from your heart, and people don't like it, keep sharing anyway. If you build a building and someone comes along and knocks it down, keep building. If you are a giver, and I know that giving can be a defect as well, because I was one of those like aim to please no matter what persons. But if you give and people reject your gifts, keep giving anyway. And I think that's one of the big lessons, like just learning to be who I am, comfortable in my skin, doing what I have to do, because this is the way God made me. And it's okay if you don't like it. It's okay if I stumble and fall. I have fallen a lot these past couple of months on my knees. God, what's going on? I don't understand. I can't control any of this. Back to powerlessness again. I can't control my husband. I can't control the markets, my business, what happens in that. I can't control service commitments, AA, Al-Anon. I have no control. And it's okay. My Al-Anon sponsor gave me a new acronym. It's LOVE, Let Others Voluntarily Evolve. Coming from a long line of having a lot of sponsors, a couple long-term, but a few in between there, I know what control looks like. And doing enough 4 steps, I know what control looks like, my own time to control. And so I'm learning, okay, I'm evolving. It's okay to have really bad weeks. I'm still sober. In fact, it was from this podium, a lady said, some days are good, some days are sober. It's like, yeah, Gail, it was Gail. Yeah, and so, falling on my knees is not a bad thing. It's like, it gets me closer to my higher power. It gets me back into the herd, picking up that 500-pound phone. Man, that's hard when you have some time, because I'm supposed to have it all, right? I'm supposed to be it all and know it all and, tell you what happens in the book. And I can tell you a lot of stuff. If someone's in pain, I can help you. Because as Osri has reminded me, I am uniquely qualified to help someone get sober and go through these steps. And that might be the only thing I'm uniquely qualified to do. But sometimes I cannot sponsor myself. I cannot pull myself off that floor sometimes. I need you guys. I need that phone call. I need more than a text, more than a happy, the little characters with flowers on. I have to call and say, I need some help. It's so hard. What else to say? I got to be running out of time here pretty soon. 2 minutes. Okay. I think I'll take those 2 minutes to say thank you. AA, everywhere I go, there's AA. I've traveled internationally, and thank God for Zoom. Some of you might not like it, but for my 60th birthday, I went out of the country, like literally halfway around the world. And I couldn't be in an AA meeting because they were in the bad part of town. And I did a lot of Zoom meetings. And it's very entertaining because you get to hear accents. But the message is that message of the heart, the message of recovery plus. It's not about just staying sober. You guys, what you do here at Intergroup, it's not about us just staying sober and providing a place. There is a fellowship and a magic. And I'll see if I can remember this acronym for magic. I can't remember, but I'll tell you another one. Q-tip, quit taking it personally. So that's a good one. So just thank you. Thank you for spending your New Year's with me and being here and anyone else. And you guys that are working the phones, thank you. Phone stuff. I mean, I've been on phone duty many, many times. And there was times it was like, whew, thank God that's not me. Thank God I can be here to help. Service keeps you sober because it just makes me so much grateful. And watching some of those TV programs about rehab and celebrity, rehab and all that stuff, it's like, okay, yeah, there's a lot of clues out there when you're looking for them. And I'm going to shut up now because I think I've said what God wants me to say. But thank you very much.
Thanks, Janice.